Lisa Mansfield. Okay.
Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order for Monday, December 14th for the Joint Board of Review for the Akron Public Schools and the City of Akron. Roll call, please.
Dr. Akbar,
Here.
Ms. Autry,
Here.
Mr. Bravo,
Present.
Mr. Freeman, Mr. Fricker, Mr. Hall, Mr. James,
Here.
Mr. Luddle,
Here.
Mr. Somerville, Ms. Somerville,
Mark Moore for Ms. Somerville.
okay, and 1, 2, 3. All right, that would give us a quorum.
And Mrs. McKittrick for Dr. Hall.
Okay, got that. So that gives us 8 people, I think. We're good.
All right, perfect. Dr. James, we'll turn it over to you. I believe we have just the one item.
Yes, and approval of the meeting minutes from
Yes, sorry. We'll take a motion.
14th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for approval of the meeting minutes. Are there any comments, questions, or discussion on those? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing and seeing none, motion passes. The minutes are approved. Dr. James?
The next item is a change order for the Kenmore Garfield Community Learning Center. This one is to add polished concrete. So at this time, we're requesting approval of a change order in the amount of $63,126.54. This change order includes the labor, material, and equipment to provide polished concrete with elite rubber top and steel concrete that's detailed in the PO. The polished concrete was not previously included in the project contract amendment for the Kenmore Garfield Learning Center, but this polished concrete will result in a better quality surface to benefit the building. The change order will be funded as follows. $33,892.70 will come out of state funds. The co-funds, the $23,552.45 will come out of our local share, and then $5,681.39 will come out of our locally funded initiative. And if there are any questions, I believe Deborah Polk is on the call as well and can answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions before we would entertain a motion? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Dr. Akbar and a second from Mr. Luddle, I believe.
Correct.
Any final comments, questions, or discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes. The item is approved. Is there any other business to come before this joint board?
I believe that is all of our business for today.
Anything from our joint board members? Ms. Autry?
Yes, I am just keeping that fire lit and hoping everyone is keeping in mind about our need to update CLC usage policy. So I know we attached the previous meeting, we attached the policy. So just if you're looking for something fun to read over the holidays, I'm just encouraging everybody to kind of read, because we all need to update that moving forward. That's really going to help our levy effort. And we want to make sure that the policy reflects our true intentions of the CLC if we want our community to have some ownership and respect these buildings, take proper care of them, and support them through a levy. So I just want to keep that in the forefront of everybody's minds. And I believe Mr. Bravo, you had mentioned about us possibly having some grant funding to maybe cover, insurance for those types of things. But I just wanted to keep that in the forefront of folks' minds.
Yes, and Ms. Perkins, thank you for reminding Ms. Autry, and Dr. Akbar, I know you have your hand raised. We did ask for that to be on unfinished business, and we do need to come back to that as an agenda item. I'm not sure, Ms. Falk, where we might start, or if we need to maybe each take this back to our respective groups and come back with some recommended language changes. And if you'll recall, probably, what was it, 2 years ago, the grant funding that Ms. Autry is mentioning, we had received a grant from the Knight Foundation to address any obstacles or challenges that we might face. And it might also be good, Ms. Falk, you've had that information before that you might be able to update, although I would wager not a lot has changed with COVID, but to bring us back the data and the statistics, particularly on any obstacles or any denials or anything like that. And then maybe we can use that as a kicking off point to talk about where we need to address some of those challenges at our next meeting.
Mr. Bravo, we actually had scheduled originally a request to have Jeff Icona from the city, who has now replaced Steve Bushko, to come and be part of the meeting, and had hoped to do that originally at the 11:30 meeting, but we didn't have any other agenda items. Jeff is waiting to be introduced to this group, and the review of what has happened in the reorganization of the Akron City Parks and Recs Department has also taken place within the city. They are now under another division with Mr. Hardy, and we wanted to make sure that that update happened before we started to go down the road to Ms. Autry and Dr. Akbar's point of trying to revise this, because it will take some collaborative effort. And the committee that originally was supposed to do these type of reviews, as you remember, needs assignments from the city of Akron as well as APS as to who would sit with us to do those reviews. And we are looking for members from both sides. And I don't think anybody has suggested who those members would be at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe we can add that for an agenda item for our next meeting and get that update done in January. And I thought we had supplied all of our names. I want to turn it over to Dr. Akbar real quick, because I know he had his hand raised, but I thought we had supplied our names. Maybe we didn't. Dr. Akbar?
Yeah, I think at some point that did happen, or at least there was a discussion about it. But my point or question really was an extension to what Ms. Autry said, and going back to Mr. Bravo's comments at the last meeting about the Knight Foundation grant. And I guess my question had to do with how much funds do we still have there, and in what ways could that be utilized to support it? Because we not only need to find a temporary solution, but we also have to find a sustainable solution.
So the
Doctor,
grant,
I think that the grant was $25,000. Does that ring a bell with
I think
you,
it was
Mr.
20.
Bravo?
I think it was 20. We may need to go back too, because this was a couple of fiscal cycles ago, but it was essentially an administrative grant that could be approved locally. So I don't see any reason necessarily why, if it needed to be approved again, it wouldn't be. But it was for $20,000, and it was pretty open-ended. I mean, we talked about a couple of solutions when insurance was possibly an issue. We talked about either, us insuring and using that to pay for the insurance that might be required for folks that can't get it. Though we also discovered that may not be as significant of an issue for a lot of folks. Then the developing a joint website, but then we found also that there may already have been a group of folks that went down that path. So it was pretty open-ended. It was basically whatever challenges you might face in getting people to connect and engage and use these CLCs, you can probably use this funding for it.
Dr. Akbar, one of the other issues that did come up, just so that everybody is aware, as we have right-sized the district, we have then decreased the amount of space available for use. I'll give an example. We have taken 3 auditoriums and 6 gyms out of the ability to easily schedule everybody as we have right-sized the district. We no longer have Perkins, we no longer have Kent, we no longer have Garfield, things like that. So therefore, the scheduling around school activities with the community use as well prior to COVID was being adjusted accordingly to the amount of use with the less space available. So therefore, it wasn't that people, to Mr. Bravo's point, it wasn't necessarily as much as the insurance or things like that were a barrier. It was the fact that the facilities are just not available as often or as readily in a time frame regarding what is needed by the schools themselves, which takes the priority. So that was some of the other events. And then, of course, the city use comes after that. We account, Dr. Akbar, for let me run the numbers off. We have about 80% of the use. The city, the last time we ran the numbers, was at about 18% of that use. And then actual community use was the resulting 2 to 3%. And we have kept up the background information for events that we did have scheduled prior to COVID, just so we could see the numbers had the events taken place, because we provide those informations to the treasurer office so that we can go ahead and Mr. Pendleton and Mr. Atkinson can use that in determining equity funding across the district for some of the services that are provided through custodial supplies, et cetera.
And would it be possible to
Thank you.
update all this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my more direct question was, how much of the grant do we currently still have? I'm assuming we've never used it. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think that is correct. I am not aware that it's ever been used.
Okay. And the last thing I'll say is I've had conversations with multiple community members who have shared that the insurance policy did deter them from using the buildings. And part of what I'm gathering is some of it isn't necessarily them actually completing the form. It's once they get the information, that information stops them from completing the process. So I just want to put that out there, that is a barrier that has come to me multiple times for multiple buildings actually.
Actually, in front of me is I do have the report for July 1st of 2019 through June 30th of 2020, and I can get that to everybody's attention shortly. Now, it will be adjusted, as you are aware, because of COVID, so you will see some reductions through March, but we have those all detailed as to why there has been a change. But we do have that information is updated, okay? Thank you.
And would it also be possible, just for some context, to send us the prior one?
Yes, I can get you 2018-19 as well.
Thank you. And then to Ms. Autry's point, we can add this to unfinished business. And if we have the gentleman in here from maybe the city of Akron, that'd be great to get an update from him. I'd love to hear about the reorganization too. Okay. Anything else to come before the joint board? All right, hearing and seeing nothing, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Ms. Atri, a second from Dr. Akbar. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.